Hey everyone, welcome back. So I decided to make a video about my team comp, who I use, why I use them, and then displaying to you guys basically the breakdown of each character and why I chose them compared to, my other units. First and foremost, I'm going to say play who you enjoy and play who you have within your own means. So by no means am I saying you should go and summon these 5-star units because they're badass and they're better than others and blah 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 blah. Basically what I'm saying is I've got these characters because for one, paid for them, two, I got lucky with some, and three, I just really enjoy the way they play. There's some characters that I like that I enjoy their gameplay and others that I don't. For example, I did the trial for Zhongli. And for me, he was a little bit underwhelming. I didn't necessarily care for how he played. By no means does that mean he's bad. It just means that I don't necessarily care for him, so I'm not going to spend the money to go and ball out and get him, And to be honest, it's not really within my means, even if I did really like him. So I'm going to play within my means and enjoy who I have. And this is who I have. Let me open it up and show you. First and foremost, I am going to put everyone in the party because I'm missing one. I need to change out Sucrose for child. Where's Sucrose?
Come on.
And I do have, like I said, a good amount of the characters. I think I'm only missing 4 or 5 stars, including Zhongli, and then I'm also missing Xinyan, which is, of course, a new unit I haven't pulled. I've pulled 4 Zhongyuns, which, anyway, doesn't matter. Just a little salty. Anyway, so this is my makeup. I'll open up the party menu again. This is my makeup. The reason why I use these units simply is because of synergy, right? I use units that will pair well together, that will complement one another. For example, I have Tartaglia, which is of course a Hydro unit, and I have Chi-Chi. So I can wet the unit and then freeze them, which would cause them to be immobilized. It'll stun lock them, and then I can attack them with one of my more heavy hitter units, which is Keqing. So that's what I use those two for, is basically for freezing and stun locking my opponents, especially the heavy hitters, right? And then after I do that, or depending on the situation, I have Klee and Keqing. Now with these two units, it's going to cause overload. So get a fire dot or an electro dot, and then of course swap. So either it's fire or electro, and then I swap them to get the overload stack, which causes a good amount of damage, right? So with these 4, I really enjoy how they pair together. And also they're the units that I have leveled up, right? Like I have other units that I really enjoy, but I physically just don't have the money to grind out books to level other characters. Because I do really enjoy Ningguang, and I really enjoy Sucrose, and a few other units that I would love to play more. Mona, for example, I don't have all the books or the resources to really be able to do that. So these are the ones that I've leveled that I really do enjoy. And they're very synergetic, to be honest. And synergy, I've been finding, especially in this game, is very useful, right? Like if you have characters that don't really work well together, it makes the game a little bit harder, almost unnecessarily. So if you can find characters that work well together, that can proc off one another, and that can just explode damage, definitely use them. All right, now moving into some of their artifacts, like what I have on them, and then some side notes about how I wouldn't say how I pair them, but I really strongly suggest, like when you get a new character, if you really want them, do the trial, of course, and then if you have the money and the means, roll for them on the banner. But the next step, if you get them, would be to read their kit. So basically see what their talents do and how they scale. So for me, and I was doing this wrong for a while, like quite a while, my husband just pulled a Keqing a week and a half ago, really, and he's like, hey Jess, like, do you notice your Keqing doing a lot of damage? And I'm like, she's not bad. I mean, she's doing really well, but I don't think she's quite at her peak, right? Part of that has is I can level these up, that's one of the obvious reasons, but I didn't read her kit, and I didn't notice that her damage scales really well with her crit damage. So if you have high crit damage, or excuse me, crit rate, her damage scales with her crit rate. So if you have high crit rate and high crit damage, she does insane damage, right? So let's see if I can find where it scales with her crit damage and her crit rate. So her passive talent that you get, I believe, at ascending the 4th ascension, the 3rd or 4th ascension. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since, like, I've had her leveled up for a hot minute. But this says when casting Starward Sword, so that is her Q skill or her burst skill, is increased by 15%, and her energy recharge is also increased by 15%. This effect lasts for 8 seconds. So that's one of her instances where her crit rate really, really helps, especially it helps scale with her ultimate. And one thing you can also do is I'm going to take off her artifacts so you can see what her or at least her crit artifacts. So you can see how high it is compared to her other stats. And that's one thing you can look at a character and say is like, oh, well, these stats are really high. I think they'll benefit if I scale more into this stat spread. So I'm going to take off her flower because that has crit on it. Going to take off the feather. I think there's one more. And her hat. Her hat has crit on it. Let's see. Go back to attributes, details. So her crit damage is still insanely high, and that's only with 2 artifacts on. So if you can either scale, ideally you're going to want to scale the crit rate, right? So the crit rate, you're going to crit more often for this crit damage to go into effect. Let's go into her. Okay, here we go. So one thing with Keqing that you'll notice, at least from looking at this, is I took off all of her artifacts. And her artifacts, without her artifacts, her crit damage when she crits is hitting for 78.8%, which is absolutely insane, right? So what you want to do is you want to make it to where your character is going to crit more often to take advantage, basically, of the crit damage that will happen every time you crit. So what I have on my Keqing are artifacts, as much as I can, that have crit damage on them. So I just took them all off. So let's put on some artifacts for her. So this one is most flowers, actually all flowers, I believe, scale HP. And then you want to get lucky and hopefully try to get some that either have crit rate. Well, exactly crit rate or crit damage is nice too, but crit rate is what you want so then you can crit more often. So let's equip this to her. Her flower, which also has, again, crit rate on it. Yeah, Bloodstained. This one I couldn't get. I couldn't get one so far that has crit rate on it. So, say Levy, it is what it is. Let's move on. Gladiator, this one doesn't have it on either. And this. So the nice thing, I believe the only artifact that you can get that will have crit rate that I've noticed so far are the helmets. So if you can get a crit rate helmet specifically for Keqing, or, I also have a crit rate helmet on my child and my Klee because they have kits that scale really well with their crit. Equip that as well. And now let's go back and look at the artifact, the details. Now the crit rate is at 45% when it was 5% before. So now 45% of the time, this is without food. You can always add food and buffs and blah, blah, blah. But without it, 45% of the time, I'm going to be critting. And of that crit, 78% of that damage is going to be added onto it. So it's insane. And it scales so quick. Before, I didn't have this on my Keqing, and I was still noticing good damage. However, it's much, much better now. So let's go on to her weapon. I have the flute on her, and to be honest, I'm not super well versed in this weapon. It's just one that I've pulled and got like 3 or 4 of. So I refined it, and of course that's what I've had Keqing pretty early on. So I gave it to her and then leveled with her. But it says that normal or charge attacks grant harmonic on hits. Gaining 5 harmonics triggers the power of music and deals 125% attack damage to the surrounding enemies. Harmonics last up to 30 seconds, and the maximum of 1 can be gained every 0.5 seconds. The little flavor text underneath says, beneath its rusty exterior, it is a lavishly decorated thin blade and swings as swiftly as the wind. So basically, like I said, super not well versed, but I do know that when you hit with your normal or charge attack, so either by clicking or pressing and holding, you have a chance to gain these harmonics. And after you gain 5 of them, it'll trigger a power that will give you 100% AoE damage to your surrounding enemies, which is quite nice. And like I said, it's something that I don't feel is too... I don't think it's too special, but I think it's really nice. And it wasn't hard to get. So again, playing within my means, and enjoying it. Next, and I love this character so much. Like, Qiqi is my little tank. I mean, love her to death. So first and foremost, let's see what I've got on her artifacts. I believe she has mostly 4 stars and just 1 5-star. I've got the Gladiator's Nostalgia, actually a 4-piece Gladiator set. Yeah, Gladiators, Flower, Feather, Hourglass, and Helmet. And then I have the Royal Silver Urn, which is part of the Noblesse Oblige set for her. And the reason why I have it simply is because it's cryo damage increase. And when I got the cryo damage bonus on it, I was like, yeah, that's going on my Qiqi, because why not? When you have, again, synergetic items or artifacts that go well with characters, they may not be the perfect stat spread. Mine isn't actually terrible, but it's good because I don't have anything else that is better, right? So that's what we're using. So 4-piece Gladiator and 1-piece Noblesse. And just, I think most of them are, 16. And then the 5 stars is 19. And then, of course, the set bonus that goes with her. Now with Qiqi, I don't have any constellations for her. And her artifacts are not terrible, right? But the reason why I have the Gladiator set on her is because her skills, well, one of her skills, which I use quite often, is her E skill, or the healing skill. The Herald of Frost scales with your attack. Oh, I thought it was going to crash on me for a second. So on hits, Qiqi's normal and charge attacks regenerate HP for your own party members and nearby teammates. So if you're in co-op, you can heal them as well. Healing scales based on Qiqi's attack. So for me, that's another reason why I chose the Gladiator set, is to gain more attack. So then when I use this skill, it's regenning HP for myself and all my nearby allies. It periodically regenerates your active character's HP, as well. Follows the character around, dealing cryo damage to opponents in their path. So it does AoE cryo damage when you're using it. So it circles her and will do cryo damage. And then on hit, you have a chance to regenerate HP for yourself and all of your allies. So with that said, this skill has a very, I think a 40 to 45 second cooldown. It's very, very long. And so if you can minimize the cooldown on this skill and keep using it, it's fantastic. It's so good. So the way I do that is, of course, with her weapon. I chose the Sacrificial Sword because it makes sense. It really, again, it's just so synergetic and it makes sense for her. So I have it, I believe, a refine level 3. A couple of them in, the past banners. I think they're in most of the banners, if not still in the banners. And so when I pulled them, I was like, oh yeah, I'll refine them. And then when I pulled Qiqi, I was like, wow, this is meant for her. Like this sword is meant for her. And basically what it does is, this is after damaging an opponent with an elemental skill. The skill has a 60% chance to end its own cooldown. And this can only occur once every 22 seconds. So you use your E skill, you pop it, right? And you're attacking, you're healing, you're doing these things, and then it ends the cooldown. It has a 60% chance to end the cooldown. So then you can use it again and keep regenning, keep dealing with cryo damage, as well as healing your nearby allies, who may need it. So for me, I think this sword is a must for Qiqi. Again, play within your own means, but if you have this sword, really consider using it on her, because it feels like it's almost meant for her because of the ability to end a cooldown. With her ability, this helps scale her healing based on her attack and that skill. So if you have it, highly suggest it, and enjoy her, because she's so much fun. So much fun. One of my favorites, if not my favorite in the game. Okay. And now let's move on to Klee. Love Klee. I don't know what it is about these little girls that I love so much, but I've scaled Klee's abilities upon her crit. I really started leveling her on crit simply because I believe, if I remember correctly, she's got a pretty high, yeah, her crit rate now is at 50 and her crit damage is high. So you want her to crit. Right? So when you crit, you do more damage. And that's basically the same kind of thing with Keqing, is it'll scale with her crit. Well, the damage will scale much better if you can scale her crit rate up, is what I should say. So I highly suggest doing that. As far as artifacts that I have on her, I've got the 2-piece Gladiator and a 2-piece Witch's Flame set, which is the pyro damage. I really want to ideally get the 4 set of the witches. Yeah, increases overload and burning damage by 40%, and it increases vaporize and melt damage by 15%. Using an elemental skill increases the 2-piece set effects by 50% for 10 seconds for a max of 3 stacks. Yeah, so if you're going to run Klee, please, like, consider this. Oh man, this is not a good one. Oof. But that's what I got. That's what I got, so I'm using it. Yeah, definitely if you use Klee, try to get her a good crit set, or a helmet that has crit on it, maybe a 5-star helmet that has crit, and then 4-star with the Witches of Flame. What is this? Crimson Witch of Flames. It's good for her. It's a no-brainer. Definitely check it out. And finally, my Tartaglia. So he's one of my newer units, and I've got him leveled, and his I think his talents are somewhat leveled. Yeah, somewhat leveled. But I think this is a temp set. Like, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this set yet, but currently as it shows, I've got the 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Bloodstained. Bloodstained for the physical damage boost, and the Noblesse for the burst damage boost, which is his E skill, I believe. I may be wrong. But that's just kind of what I'm running him on now, and like, they're not, some of them aren't even, one of them is terribly leveled. I need to run some more dungeons so I can level up his artifacts. But my main 3 that I had been focusing on were these 3 ladies right here. But yeah, I did notice that Tartaglia's, I believe it does scale crit. Yeah, his crit rate does scale with his damage. So again, you're going to want to do either crit rate or crit damage, or Hydro boost bonus, because obviously he's a Hydro character. With the new domain that's coming out, I believe with I don't know if it's 1.2, or if it's just like the next patch, the new domain is going to have cryo and hydro artifacts in it. So if you really want to, I would save for that, for that domain, or don't put some good artifacts on them that are temporary, but don't worry about leveling them up as insanely. Or if you do, they can be fused, right? So like, it's not a waste, but you just get less from it. So it's your choice. Definitely the better artifacts, I believe, are going to be coming out soon, and that's kind of what I want to wait for, because I think I want those more than what I've got at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. It's tentative. I'm probably going to change these. But yeah, so far this is my team, and like I said, a lot of it just depends on who I get lucky to have, the synergy that I'm wanting to run, and who I enjoy playing. Like, at the end of the day, it really depends on who you enjoy playing. If you enjoy playing them, then play them. You can build any character to be a really good character, but all you really need to do is read their talents, check out their attributes before you put anything on them, see if there's a higher percentage in one of the stats as opposed to all of the rest, and that kind of will tell you what's going to scale as they level. It'll give you a little bit of insight, right, to what you may want to try to do. And for me, that's the avenue that I've taken, and it's been working really well for me. But yeah, I enjoy them. I think they're fun. They're synergetic. I definitely am going to level up some more characters. Like, this is crazy, right? I'll have to give you guys my opinions on some other ones when I level them up and see who they play well with. But yeah, play who you like, enjoy what you do, and don't buy into this hype that a lot of influencers try to tell you, like, oh, you have to pull for this character because he's bomb, and like, he does X amount of damage. I know, like, before Zhongli came out, people were very overhyped with him, saying that, oh, he does like big dick damage and whatever. Big Dong Zhang was his like name, right? And now people are playing him, and they're maybe not, like, from what I'm seeing, they're not as happy with them as they thought they would be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him, and to be fair, maybe they don't have him geared. Maybe they don't have his artifacts, like decent artifacts for him. Maybe they don't have anything that's synergetic with his kit. It really, really depends on how you build the character. Enjoy who you have. Don't play beyond your means, because this game isn't worth not being able to pay your rent, right? Come on. Nothing's worth that. Enjoy who you have. Make it fun. And just build the characters that you love. Like, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And really, it's a game. So I hope you guys found this a little bit helpful to see how I build my characters and how I've, you know, just been trucking through the game, right? But yeah, if you have any comments or concerns or questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will read them and give you my answers as soon as I can. So take care, guys, and I hope this helps. Bye-bye.